everyone, and welcome to episode 10 of the Knitty Heather podcast. My name is Heather, and I am coming to you from Kent, Washington, where I live with my husband and our Cavalier King Charles Spaniel, Pepper. This is my channel where I chat all about my knitting adventures and everything I learn along the way. A little bit of crochet, but mostly knitting, and I love to share everything I'm working on with you. If you are a new viewer, thank you so much for finding me. I hope you enjoy it. And if you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. I really appreciate all the love and support I have received. It's always fun meeting some new people in the virtual knitting world. If you would like to follow me, I am at Knitty Heather on Instagram, and I always love connecting with people there. And anything I talk about, patterns or yarns or any accessories, I will list in the description box below. Today is Thursday, October 29th, and I have a lot to tell you about, so let's get started. Today I am wearing my Matterhorn cowl by Mari Chiba. This is made out of Universal Yarns Deluxe Worsted in the colorway Natural. I bought this yarn a couple years ago when I was on vacation in Sebastopol, California at a yarn store called Yarnitudes. This is just a very pretty cabled cowl. There is one giant cable and then several other little cables surrounding it. She does also give you directions to knit a scarf with this same pattern. If you are ever interested in knitting this, it was a very fun, quick knit. You do need a cable needle, but don't let that intimidate you. Cables are not nearly as difficult as they may look. It's a really good pattern to try out cables for the first time because you only have the one large cable where you're crossing a lot of stitches. Stacy Perry of verypinkknits.com has an excellent tutorial on her website for knitting this cowl and scarf. Today I am also wearing my Seahawks socks. This is the colorway Go Hawks from Lolo Did It on her everyday sock base, which is a 75-25 superwash merino nylon base. She has colorways for all the major sports teams. I knit these last football season. This is just a vanilla sock, and I did them cuff down with a 2x2 rib, a fish lips kiss heel, and my normal wedge toe. And I really love these. I always try to wear them either on Blue Fridays or on game day to support the Seahawks. This is going to be a very heavy Lolo Did It episode, but I did want to share some really happy mail that I've received from her. Back in May, I showed the first month of her Downton Abbey Club, but I did not show any of the yarn since then. I thought I would show you June and July's colorways from her Downton Abbey Upstairs and Downstairs collection. They both have to do with one of my favorite characters, Lady Sybil. This first colorway from June is called Lady Sybil's Dress. And it comes with this mini called the Drawing Room for toes, heels, and cuffs. So I think these make a really nice pairing. I can't wait to knit up a pair of socks with these. I'm not sure when I'll get to knitting socks from this yarn club, but I am happy to keep the yarn in my stash for now, and I definitely will knit them up someday. So this was June's colorway, Lady Sybil's Dress and the Drawing Room. And then in July, the main color is called Married to the Chauffeur. How pretty is that? Look at all the different colors. Speckles on kind of this mauve-y base. Got some oranges and browns and greens. Really pretty. I would be very interested to see how this will knit up. And it comes with a very pretty mini called Eloped. Some nice blues and greens. I love the idea of having kind of some speckles and variegation on both the main color and the mini in a sock set. I don't have very many sock sets that do that. So once again, this is Lolo Did It's July Downton Abbey Upstairs and Downstairs Club. This is Married to the Chauffeur paired with Eloped. This will again be some socks, and I hope to be able to start knitting them up maybe next year. I've kind of got some Christmas knitting coming up, but maybe in 2021 I'll focus on my Downton collection. on to some finished objects. The first finished objects I'd like to tell you about are my non-socks. First, I was able to finish my aunt's Sweet Felicia hat. This is in Hue Loco's Merino DK in the colorway Agate, and it's a very pretty, very simple cabled hat. There's a lot of bang for your buck with the pattern like this because it looks very complicated with the cables, but it's really not. It has just a couple simple cables every few rounds. You do need a cable needle, but it really knits up very beautifully. I love this hat. This is the third time I've made this hat, and I'll have to probably make myself one. All three have been gifts, and I do need to send this out to my aunt, but I might have to knit myself one of these because I do love this pattern so much. This is Sweet Felicia by Jody Brown, who is Mrs. Brown's Bags, and she's also one half of the Grocery Girls. One more look at it. This is going to an aunt who lives in Colorado, and they've already had a lot of snow, so hopefully this can keep her nice and warm this winter. My next finished object is one of the mystery knit-alongs I've been involved in the last couple months. This is the Sharon Show by Casa Pinka, and I finished the last few sections and bound off. I have all the ends woven in, but I do still need to block this. So it ended with the same kind of eyelet rows that you started with, and then there's some really pretty drop stitch section, a nice 2x2 rib section, kind of some different slip stitch patterns, striping. This was a really fun pattern, kind of some baubles in this white section, and some lace. This is really such a fun project. I enjoyed every single section of this. I'll kind of show it a little bit more this way. I know I've showed this quite a few times already. I can't wait to see how this is going to look once it is blocked. I'm going to need lots of blocking mats, but I am going to make sure that it gets blocked out really nicely to open up some of the lacy parts and also to kind of finish out this edge really nicely so it's not curling. I really, really love this pattern. I highly encourage you. The full thing is out now, and it is called The Sharon Show by Casa Pinka. All of her shawl patterns are absolutely beautiful. There's quite a few more that I would love to knit. But one last look at the different sections. I will probably post a picture on Instagram once it is fully blocked and looking its best. But this is just a really fun, it kept your interest because each section was so different. It taught you some new skills. I got to learn a lot of new stitch combinations that I'd never worked before. I can't wait to start wearing this. I think I will probably wear it like a scarf, but I think I could also pin it around sort of like a cowl as well. That would look really pretty. So we'll see how it looks, how it's going to wear. Honestly, it's pretty enough that I may just hang it up in my craft room just kind of as like a tapestry, a pretty piece of art. So we'll see what I do with it, but I really enjoyed knitting this. I highly recommend it if you're looking for a rectangular shape shawl that is basically consistent with the number of stitches you're working with the whole time. You're not starting with just a few and increasing to 500. It's kind of nice that way when you're working a rectangular shawl that you're not increasing or decreasing too much. Once again, The Sharon Show by Casa Pinka. In case you missed it when I first talked about it, I'll tell you about my yarn I used for my Sharon Show shawl. You need 4 colors. My first color was Knit Pick Stroll in the colorway Grape. My next color was also Knit Pick Stroll in the colorway Grape Speckle. And those two colors really played really nicely together. My third color was Addi Wools by Knit Crate, their luxury sock in the colorway Peony. And my fourth colorway was also one last hank of Knit Pick Stroll in the colorway Matcha. Really pretty tonal green. So those were my 4 colors I used for my Sharon Show shawl by Casa Pinka. Now on to my sock finished objects. My first one is my October socks for the Desert Vista Dye Works monthly sock club. If you're not aware, I am participating in her monthly sock club where you simply knit a pair of socks out of one of her colorways every month, and then every quarter you get prizes. But here is my October socks. This is in the colorway Zombies Jumping in the Leaves. And I used a gold mini for the heels and toes. I started these cuff down with 20 rounds of 2x2 ribbing, worked all the way down the leg and the foot. I did a rounded toe that Mina Phillip has in a lot of her patterns, and then I went back and picked up my Afterthought heel. For my Afterthought heel, I usually do 5 rounds of plain knitting and then just decrease. I think I decreased these to about 12 stitches where I decrease a round and then do a plain knitting round. But sometimes I do, if it's thicker yarn, I only decrease down to like 14 or 16 stitches. Kind of just depends on how things are looking, but these fit very nicely. I really love them, and I think it's a perfect fall colorway to add to my fall collection of socks. Zombies Jumping in the Leaves by Desert Vista Dye Works. These are my October socks for her monthly sock club. I have one last pair of fall socks I finished, and this is in the colorway Vintage Fall by Legacy Fiber Arts. A really pretty variegated. I love how this colorway knit up. These I also did cuff down with 20 rounds of 2x2 rib. I think I did about 50 rounds on the leg. And then I did a German short row heel, but just in garter stitch, where all I did was knit. I did not purl on the wrong side, I only knit. And I really like how that looks. I might do that more often now. And then I knit down the foot and did a rounded toe. This is Vintage Fall by Legacy Fiber Arts. Now on to my whips. The first whip I'd like to tell you about is a pair of socks from the Cozy Knitter, her last Yarn of the Month club. This is the colorway Minty Fresh. And I've made a lot of progress since last time I showed these. I started with a wedge toe. I'm doing these 2 at a time. I did a Fish Lips Kiss heel. And I am just barely into this last white stripe. I will do 1 round of the green stripe, and then I need to split my green mini so that I can do the cuff in the green mini for both of these. I'll do 10 to 15 rounds of cuff once I get to that first solid round of the green. This cute little Fruit Loops Progress Keeper is from Suker Miniatures. I like the length that these knit up. This was just a vanilla sock. I really like this Bliss base of hers. It's an 80/20 superwash merino nylon base, and it just really works nicely in a comfy vanilla sock. Minty Fresh by the Cozy Knitter. Up next is my Yarnable Socks for the month. This is the colorway Seance. And this is actually the second sock. It's really a half finished object. Here's my first sock. As you can see, it is a slip stitch heel flap and gusset. I did just a plain vanilla, starting from the cuff down. I did 15 rounds of 2x2 rib on this cuff. Look how pretty those colors are. Very perfect for Halloween. Can't wait to finish these up in the next day or 2. So there's a slip stitch heel flap and gusset that I did, and I did the same rounded toe, not Mina Phillips rounded toe, but the rounded toe you find in Kay Litton's patterns, the Crazy Sock Lady. And I think these knit up absolutely beautifully. I cannot wait to wear these. My second sock, as you can see, I have the cuff and the leg. I've decreased the gusset. I just have a few more rounds of the foot, and then I will do the same rounded toe. I switched Progress Keepers halfway through this project because I just received this really cute Ruby Slippers Progress Keeper from Bump on a Hill, Jennifer from Maine. Thank you so much. I absolutely love this Progress Keeper and will probably be using it all the time. So I should be able to finish this in the next day or two. Like I say, I only have about 15 more rounds on the foot, and then I will close up the toe for my Seahawks Socks from my Yarnable subscription from Hypnotic Yarn. I have one more fall sock whip that is so close to being done. This is the colorway Bewitching from Turtle Pearl. I am doing these 2 at a time. I did toe up, I did my normal wedge shaped toe, and then a fish lips kiss heel. I am working up the 2x2 rib. My plan is I'm kind of in the middle of the bottom black stripe. I'm going to work a few more rounds in the green and then I will bind off. When I bind these off, I will use this simple stretchy bind off that is in a lot of Stacey Perry from Very Pink Knits patterns. That way the toes, heels, and the cuff will all be in the green and it'll kind of help it look cohesive. I did not choose to use the green mini that she sent with this for the cuff just because I thought it might be fun to do it more in the striping. I am using my ChiaoGoo red lace. And I really love this sort of different striping pattern. They're not all even stripes. And that's one thing that Emily of Turtle Pearl really does well, is she makes different striping patterns. I could see wearing these as part of a witch costume possibly, or just wearing them on Halloween. I am hoping to finish these so that I can wear these on Halloween. Like I say, just have a couple more rounds and then I will bind off. It's so close to being done. This is just another vanilla sock, just plain knitting stockinette, because I didn't want to do anything to interrupt these really pretty stripes. I know there's lots of patterns you can do with self-striping yarn, but I've really just been into doing vanilla with them just so that their stripes really shine. Once again, this is Bewitching by Emily of Turtle Pearl. Check out her shop on Etsy. And then I love this Halloween cookie Progress Keeper that you've seen many times before from Sweet Cherry. Well, now that I've got most of my fall socks, at least almost, off the needles, I've decided that come November, I really want to focus on knitting some Christmas socks. That way I can have them done in time to start wearing in December. The first pair that I decided to start is from Quanta Fiber Arts. Here is their label. I got this last year from Etsy. And this colorway is called This Christmas. Here it is in the big cake. And then it came with a pretty red mini. So all I've done so far is 15 rounds of a 1x1 rib. I'm using this pretty Christmas tree Progress Keeper from Simply Serving. And then I've just barely gotten into where it kind of starts speckling for the main color. I think these will knit up really pretty. I'm excited to see how this pretty speckled yarn will knit up. I think I will just do a plain vanilla sock. I'm not quite sure if I'll want to do a traditional heel flap and gusset in this mini or a fish lips kiss heel. Let me know in the comments below what you think. What would you recommend for this type of a sock set? But I think they will be very festive, very pretty. I only have a couple Christmas pairs of socks, so it will be nice to add to my Christmas sock wardrobe. And hopefully I'll have a lot more progress to show you next time I podcast. Again, this is This Christmas by Quanta Fiber Arts. My last Christmas sock whip I currently have on the needles is from Holly Press Fibers on Etsy. And this colorway is called Barbie's Malibu Christmas. It's another self-striping, and I've just barely got it started. It was a set, and so she sent a pretty green mini. And then here's what it looks like in the cake. I split the yarn, so I have two cakes that look just like this. And basically what it's going to do is start with the light pink. I've just barely gotten into more of a medium pink, and then it'll go into red, and then it'll reverse that, a medium pink and then a light pink. And then it will do the same thing with some green stripes. So it should knit up really, really pretty. I love self-striping yarn, and I love knitting self-striping yarn 2 at a time. I'm using my Knitter's Pride Dreams needles for this project. And my progress keeper is from Pitter Patter Polymer. It's kind of a pretty pink sparkly Christmas tree this time. I thought would be appropriate for a Barbie themed colorway. So again, I hope I can show you a little more progress on these next time. I've just barely gotten into the second medium color pink stripe. But I really love this base. This base feels really, really nice. It's a 75-25 superwash merino nylon, but it's just very plump and soft, and it's just really plied very nicely too. It feels very good on the fingers to knit with. I highly recommend it. Check out Holly Press Fibers on Etsy. Again, this is her colorway Barbie's Malibu Christmas. My next work in progress is a pair of fingerless mitts for another aunt of mine who lives in Virginia and works on a farm. I had a lot more progress last week because I decided to frog it and start over on a smaller size needles. I was using a size 8. I went down to a size 6 because I felt like it was just going to be too wide. It was even bigger on my hands, and my aunt is a lot smaller than I am. So I was thinking these would just be way too huge on her. The pattern I am using is Vanilla Fingerless Mitts by Claudia Donnelly. I love the pattern. With me being a looser knitter, it was just getting to be too wide. So I went down to a size 6, and I don't think I am going to knit quite as many rows up for the cuff. I think I'll probably only maybe do about 15 or 20 rounds before I start the thumb gusset, just because sometimes you don't want a fingerless mitt to like go all the way down to your elbow. So I think I might modify it that way as well. But I do love how they're turning out. This is a pumpkin pie progress keeper from Simply Serving. I am using my Knitter's Pride Dreams double pointed needles, and I just finished the cuff. And then now I'm starting to work up, just in plain stockinette, up the hand a little bit before I start doing the thumb gusset. And this is Cascade Yarn Superwash Merino. The colorway is number 65, and it's just a really pretty gray. And I think I'll be a lot happier with these, that they'll be a little bit smaller, not quite as loose and baggy as they otherwise would have been. So I had to rip back a little bit and kind of start over, but I think I made the right choice in starting over with these. She just may have to wait a little bit longer before I can send these off to her, but this will be high on my priority list to get done for her. Again, this was the Vanilla Fingerless Mitts by Claudia Donnelly. Well, I finished one of my mystery knit-alongs, and I still have one more to complete. I thought I'd show you a quick update on where I am at in my Garden Variety Mystery Knit Along by Lisa K. Ross. This is for the Garden Variety shawl, and right now I am working on this brick pattern, and I think it's sort of the last part. I don't know if you can tell yet, but I'm starting to kind of decrease and round off the edge. So this is going to be the final edge, and it will kind of close in right here in the middle in sort of a triangle space. I think since my last podcast, I've also done what she calls this ferns lace section, which was really pretty, and kind of this checkerboard pattern. The yarn I'm using for this is from Lolo Did It. It was her Cool Jewels kit that she made specifically for this pattern, and I'm happy with how it's turning out. I really love it. I will be sure to show the finished project, hopefully on my next podcast. I'm using my Knit Picks Caspian circular interchangeable needle set, and that's been really fine. The tips have been perfectly sharp enough for the lace sections in this pattern. And I just really love these blues with this dark royal color. I think it's going to look really nicely. Again, this is almost turning out to be more of a piece of art that I may have to hang or display somewhere in the craft room. This is the Garden Variety Mystery Knit Along for the Garden Variety Shawl by Lisa K. Ross. The last project I would like to tell you about has not been cast on yet, but it's a little bit of dream knitting I have. Last time I showed you, I got a skein from MJ Yarn. This is in the Seahawks Socks base, which is a 75% superwash merino, 15% nylon, 10% tencel. And this is the colorway Northern Lights. I thought it had some really pretty fall colors and I wanted to cast something on so that I could maybe wear it when it was still kind of fall, maybe early winter season out there. So I was looking on Ravelry for some cowl patterns, and how perfect for the colorway called Northern Light. I found a really pretty lacy cowl pattern by Stella Aykroyd called Borealis. How perfect is that? So I do plan on casting this on in the next day or two. I think it will knit up really pretty, and I'm looking forward to adding another cowl to my collection. I think last time I mentioned that I was trying to add more cowls just because I feel like I've done a lot of shawls lately, and I do love shawls, but cowls sometimes are just way easier to slip on and to wear. They're a little bit more comfortable sometimes. You don't have to fuss with them as much. So I have been wanting to use some of my pretty sock yarn in a cowl. Well, I think that will about do it for this episode. Thank you so much for joining me. I do really appreciate it. Thank you to all of those who have subscribed and follow me on Instagram. Once again, I am at Knitty Heather on Instagram. I would be really honored if you would do me a favor and like and subscribe to this channel. That would really help me out. I did just reach 500 followers on Instagram, which I really appreciate, and I was thinking about doing some kind of giveaway. So let me know in the comments below if that is something you would be interested in. I think I've got some yarn and maybe a couple bags that I could start putting in a little giveaway bag and do some giveaways every so often like a lot of other podcasters do. I would be absolutely happy to do that. But let me know in the comments below if that is something you would be interested in, and also if you've entered in giveaways before, what is the easiest way to do that? I've also been kind of thinking about starting a Ravelry group, and I don't know if it would be easier to do it through YouTube or Ravelry or on Instagram. Let me know if you have any experience with any of that and any feedback you have about what is the easiest, fairest way to do some giveaways. I would love to start giving back to all my knitting friends. As always, if you have any other questions or comments, please either leave them in the comment section below or feel free to DM me on Instagram. I'd be happy to get back to you. But until next time, be well, be kind, and happy knitting. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.